is my luncheon keynote topic. Respect in a global work environment. That's what I have the privilege of talking to you about this afternoon. And I look at respect as a fundamental skill to be mastered, to be successful in our careers. And there are many, many different ways that respect plays a role in your work environment. In my short time this luncheon, I'm going to talk a little bit about how respect plays a role in dealing with people who are different than us and some of the consequences of that. And we'll also look at the idea of how respect plays a role in management success, at basic skills like getting people to come to work on time with good attitudes. So when we look at respect and we start our discussion looking at it, I want to first look at something that causes much concern in the work environment. What we are actually required to do at work to be successful is give other people respect. That's required. But many of us confuse the concept of respect with the concept of whether or not other people like us. This leads to problems. And I have had many different work experiences in my life where I've gotten to observe what can go right and what can go wrong if we receive respect or we receive disrespect. Currently, I make my living doing basically two things. One of the things, of course, is I'm a professional speaker and a consultant and a trainer. And I get to go all over the world and work with organizations and help them learn the difference between whether or not people respect us and whether or not people like us. The other thing that I currently still do for a living is I own a little teeny tiny business where I live in Austin, Texas. And that little business is called the Law Offices of Courtney E. Anderson. What do you think I do there? Practice law, absolutely. So I'm a lawyer, and that's the other thing I do for a living, and you would not believe the amount of customers and clients that I have worked with who've gotten confused between the difference of respecting someone and liking someone, and the problems that that can lead to in real life. So let's explore this idea a little bit. I have a question. How many of you could raise your hands very confidently that you like all of the people that you work with on a daily basis? A couple of people saying absolutely, a few people. Okay, a different question. How many of us could raise our hands very confidently that we like most of the people that we work with on a daily basis? Okay, all right, some hands still not even moving at all. That's okay. That's okay. And a little bit different question lastly. How many of us could raise our hands pretty confidently that all of the people that work with us like us? A couple of people are saying, absolutely, I'm likable. Who wouldn't like me? And I understand that. Here's where we have an issue, where the rubber meets the road. And in both of my jobs that I do for a living right now, being a professional speaker and trainer and practicing law, I find that I have to be honest with people. I'm a pragmatic person, and we've got to just be very truthful if we're going to be successful. So in the interest of time, I just want to say this to everybody in the room. There are people that work with you right now at your job every day who absolutely, positively cannot stand you at all. Now, some of the people who cannot stand you, you have an inkling that they don't like you because of their body language and the things they say to you. But there are some other people who work with you right now in your job who you have no idea that they don't like you because they're nice to you at work. And then they go home and they talk about you behind your back. You have no idea. Some people get very upset with me when we're honest about this issue. And I meet people all over the country and they say, that's not true. I'm likable. I'm nice. Everybody likes me. We're headed toward problems. Even if I'm the nicest person in the world, there are going to be people who do not like us for all different types of reasons. And there's not much that we can do about that. Luckily, I get the opportunity most of the time at work to meet brand new people. Whether I go to court or I go to a speaking event, I get to meet brand new people. And even though I like me, and I think I'm a really nice person, I know that there are people I meet at work who do like me. Earlier this week, I worked with an awesome company down in Dallas, Texas. I walked in there, I did 5 training sessions in one day, and I know a lot of those people probably did like me. They were very nice. But there were some other people in those training sessions who did not like me. Some of them shared that with that body language. I watched some people sit there and just stare at me and just make faces. But there were other people that I encounter who are assertive enough to share with me how little they like me. And just so that we'll be on the same page, and I'm only sharing this so that I'm using myself as an example. But I had some exciting examples of this. A while ago, I was training, doing a wonderful training day. I was having a fun day. I was having a great day. There was a lady that worked at the organization who I could tell didn't like me because of her facial expressions and her body language. And that's okay, that's okay. And at the end of the day, she had the opportunity to provide written feedback on an evaluation form, like you typically do after a training exercise, to understand what was the result. How did people feel about it? So she wrote down some comments on her form. And then, as she was exiting the program at the end of the day, she walked up to me with her form, and she wanted to read to me what she had written on her feedback form. And I'll give a direct quote. What she'd written on her feedback form was, "Courtney is ugly, and her face is distracting." Did this lady like me? No, when people call us ugly, it's a clue. They don't like us. She didn't like me. And interestingly enough, just about a month ago, I was working with another client doing professional speaking and training, and I was having an incredible day, and there was a lady who was in the training room, and I was actually at this client doing a makeup training session. And what I mean by a makeup training session is you would not believe the number of people when it's time for their mandatory training who get sick or forget about it, and they happen to miss it. So I was back at this client for a makeup session, and there happened to be some team members who'd missed all of my other training sessions who had to come to the last one. And there was a lady and her husband who both worked at this organization. I found out later, both her and her husband had worked there for over 50 years each. Together over 100 years. That's wonderful. That's longevity. So I'm doing the training, and I start my training day, and I was feeling good. 99% of my days are really good days, because I get to do things I enjoy, I get to meet new people. I love my life. So I'm having a good day. I started to do the introduction. I had talked for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. I'd barely gotten out my name and where I lived and what we were going to talk about. And the lady, she sort of raised her hand, but before I could say anything to acknowledge it, she just started to speak. And she yelled out, and she said, "Your voice, it's distracting. I can't stand it." So I did everything I could in my power to try to change my voice. And she sat in that room for another half an hour until we got to a break. And we got to a break time in session, and this lady walked up to me, and I didn't know what she was going to say. She walked up to me, and there's another direct quote. And she leaned over to me and she said, "I know you mean well, but you are disgusting, and you disgust me." And then she sort of spit in my direction, and she stormed out. Did this lady like me? No, that's a clue. All right. Is there anything that I could do to make these people like me? No, there really isn't. I've met some people who don't like me because I'm ugly. I've had other people, like this lady last month, who didn't like me because I was disgusting. Some people don't like me. I had one woman come up to me and say to me, "You're really short." She didn't like that. I've had other people, when I tell them that I live in Texas, I've had other people around the world say to me, "I don't like Texas." And they don't like me. Okay. There are people who don't like the way I look. There are people who don't like the way I sound. There are people who don't like the fact I've showed up to do training sometimes in an environment where it's all gentlemen. Gone to some construction companies, it's all gentlemen. And they did not like the fact that I was a female. Some people don't like my gender, the way I look, my height, my size, my color, my race, all these different things. And guess what? There are people who do not like all those different things about you. Some people don't like your personality. They don't like your sense of humor. They don't like the way you look. They don't like your glasses. They don't like the way you dress. They just don't like it. And that is okay. Because when we get up in the morning and we brush our teeth and we put on our work clothes and we set our goals for the day, I set goals every day. Not a big, long writing a list, but I set my daily goals. And one of the things I think to myself, I thought it this morning when I woke up in the hotel, I thought, today is going to be a good day. Set that as a goal. So far, so good. I set that goal most days. What would happen if you and I, before we went to work, set a goal and we thought to ourselves, I sure hope when I get to work that all of my coworkers and all the customers I meet, I sure hope all of them like me. Would we meet that goal? No. No matter what we do, there are going to be people who just don't like us. And that's part of life. We just have to accept it. The only thing that I have to be concerned about that's part of my job requirement and part of your job requirement is that other people have to respect us. And the lawyer in me just has to tell you, mentioned earlier today, there are rules, actually federal laws, that force us to be respectful at work of other people. Absolutely. Do I have to like somebody to respect them? Do I have to agree with them to respect them? Do I have to understand them to respect them? No, I sure don't. How do you and I get respect at work from other people? Give it. That's all I was looking for. How do I get respect from other people? I just give it. I give it all the time. I give it to the people I like, and I give it to the people I don't like. I give it to the people who don't like me. I just give it. What's the benefit to me if I give respect to my coworkers and my customers? I'm going to get it back. Now, I've been some places and people have said to me, you know what? People need to earn my respect before I'll give it to them. Okay, interesting approach. And I always ask those individuals, I say, well, when do your customers receive your respect? Do they have to earn it? People say, well, no. The moment they call on the phone, we give it to them. That's what we need to do with our internal customers, our coworkers. You got to give it all the time. And we have one other choice. My first choice is I can give respect to people. Most of the time, I'll get respect back. That's my first choice. I have one other choice at work, though. My other choice is that I could give disrespect to somebody. What's going to come back to me when I give disrespect to my other coworkers? The exact same thing is going to come back to me. Does this sound like a pretty simple concept? It does to me. If you give disrespect to people, you get disrespect back. You honestly, I guarantee you, you'll get disrespect back. It'll come to you in different forms, but it will come back. That sounds simple. You wouldn't believe the amount of individuals that I've talked to and worked with who don't get this. I actually go to workplaces, and the individuals will tell me about the problems and challenges they're facing, and I'm there to create some solutions. I've gone to places, and I've actually had to tell people, adults at work, I had to teach and training. I had to say to people, at work, do not curse out your coworkers. At work, do not throw things at other people. At work, do not beat other people up. I'm not making this stuff up. There are people who go to work and they curse and say bad things to other people. There are people who go to work and throw things at people. And then they can't figure out why they're having all these communication problems and teamwork problems. Can't understand it. I was fortunate to work with the manager one time in the New England area, and she said to me on the phone, she said, I'm so glad I'm bringing you in to teach my team about respect and teamwork. She said, my numbers, productivity are down. They need help. She said, this team I have, it's the sorriest team I've ever had in my whole career. Already, red flags are going up in my mind. I'm thinking, uh-oh, somebody might be part of the problem and not part of the solution. So I go up there, and just like on the phone, I meet this woman. Now the woman, I'm already admitting that I'm short. This lady was shorter than I was. And we met in person for the first time, and she starts talking about her team because she's really upset because she's under pressure because she's not meeting her numbers like she needs to with her productivity. So pressure coming from her supervisors. So I meet her in person, and she says to me, I'm so glad you're here. They need it. I don't know what to do with them. I've never seen a group as bad as this group. And I get in there to train. Did I see a lot of bad attitudes in the room? Oh, yeah. Let's go over it again. When you give disrespect, what do we get back? Disrespect. It'll come back in different forms. At work, when you give disrespect to people, some people will just talk about you behind your back. Some people will work a little less hard to show you that they don't really like the way you treat them. And this woman in New England, I am not making this up, her team said to me, and she admitted later when I talked to her, that she would have meetings and she would talk to people about what they weren't doing right at work. And she had a habit that she had a beautiful picture of her beloved dog on her desk. And in these meetings, she would point to the picture of her dog and she'd talk to the person and she'd say, you are dumber than my dog, and point to the picture. Is that disrespectful? Yes, it is. And I'll tell you, I was working one time in Florida, in South Florida, great organization. Similar problem. They said, we need help. And they said, maybe we need diversity training. We've got a lot of people from different countries and different parts of the world. And they said, we need something because our numbers are down. So I show up to do training. And I'm in there and I'm having a good day, like I set most of my days to have a good day. It's one of my goals. And I'm looking in the room, and everybody in that room was just looking at me like I was crazy. And it's rare that nobody likes me. So I couldn't understand where I went wrong. And one of the team members, I was actually there trying to do a session, just a session of teaching different people. I was trying to empower